Welcome to Zen and the Art of Real Estate Investing, one of the fastest growing real estate investing podcasts in the world. What if you could learn from experienced real estate investors? Find out what got them to where they are now. Get insight into their daily habits and take these insights to inspire your own growth. Each episode, Jonathan Greene shares an in-depth look at the mindful approach to real estate investing. Jonathan is a lifelong real estate investor and the founder of Streamline, a data-driven, investor-friendly, independent real estate brokerage located in Madison, New Jersey. Whether you're looking to start from scratch, get to the next level, or just for a straightforward and honest approach to real estate investing, this is the free mentorship program you can take with you anywhere. Now, here's Jonathan.
Thanks for showing up for another episode of Zen and the Art of Real Estate Investing. I've got a return guest for you today, Henry Washington, from See You at the Closing Table and all of the Bigger Pockets podcasts, including The Big Show and On the Market. You've heard from him before. His last episode was number 109, and you're going to hear from him again right now. This is episode 352 of Zen and the Art of Real Estate Investing with my guest, Henry Washington, a return guest. The last time Henry was here was February 5th, 2024, How to Become a Real Estate Deal Maker, and that is also the name of his book. He's also the founder of the Closing Table Mastermind, and I'm sure that you've seen Henry around the Bigger Pockets Investosphere from the Big Show podcast, where we all found out that Henry was my dad on my last appearance on that one with Dave, and On the Market. Henry, welcome back. Good to see you.
Oh, man. Always good to talk to you, John, man. I appreciate this.
Yeah, man. I love it. Well, I wanted to start with something interesting. I was kind of going over like how long I've been following you, but then also how long we've been friends. And one thing that I noticed from the start of your real estate investing journey till now, never even once have I seen you affected by what's going on with like the national news about real estate, interest rates, how it's tough, buyer's market, seller's market. Why is that? Because I think that's where people get confused a lot of the time, and it's never affected you.
Yeah. I mean, I think first and foremost, everything in real estate is based on your ability to manage risk. Whether the market's good or the market's bad, there's still risk. And I manage my risk by what I'm willing to pay for properties. I've done really well in terms of like buying properties at enough of a discount to weather almost any storm. The times I've gotten myself into trouble with properties are the times when I've bent those rules. Yeah. And then I quickly remember why I don't like to bend the rules that I have in place for myself in terms of underwriting. So for me, it doesn't matter what interest rates are. It doesn't matter what insurance costs are. It doesn't matter what taxes are. The only thing that matters are, do the numbers make sense? And do I have more than one exit strategy? Yeah. If the answer to that is yes, regardless of those other factors, then I'm probably going to buy a deal. Obviously, there's a few other factors that'll play into whether or not I buy that deal. But for the most part, that's what I've been able to do, is just adjust my underwriting with what's happening in the market. Now, how it has affected me, John, is it's like, because I'm so conservative in my underwriting and because I'm trying to manage the risk of what's happening in the market, that essentially means for a real estate investor that you're just willing to pay less for a deal so that you can have enough cushion for those things to happen. But the downside to that is not every investor is like me. And so there are tons of other investors out there who are willing to pay more. Yeah. So how it's affected me is either I'm doing less volume of deals because other people are beating me out on offers, or I have to spend more on marketing or more time on marketing so that I get more leads so that I can make more offers to keep up the same volume of deals. So that's how it's impacted me.
Yeah, that's interesting. Do you think that it's helped? Because I know you've done some short-term rental, mid-term rental. Do you think that kind of the advance of STR and MTR has given you more potential exit strategies? So if you buy something,
Yeah.
because I know you've been a flipper, you're going to flip it, and then you're like, I don't know, the out value is not good, or this looks really good. Now you have
Yeah.
long-term rent, mid-term rent, and short-term rent. I think it gives you a lot of like backup plans.
Yeah, it definitely does. As the landscapes changed on short-term rentals, like those options have shrunk. It used to be that like almost any property you had,
Yeah, yeah.
you could pivot to a short-term or mid-term rental strategy and it would probably cover. That's not the case anymore. So that isn't as much of an option as it has been before, but yes, it's still definitely an option. It's one of the exit strategies. I think where people get in trouble is buying properties specifically because they make a good short-term or mid-term rental and then don't have another pivot. So like
Yeah.
for me, I don't even really consider short-term rental as a viable exit strategy. Like it's an icing on the cake strategy for me. So like I would buy a property that I could short-term rent only if I could either sell or long-term rent as well. And if I can't do those things, I'm not doing it.
Yeah, that's why I kind of like DSCR loans, because they're a lot of times, if you don't have a short-term rental history that you're buying into, they're just going to evaluate it based on the long-term
That's all.
rents.
Yes.
So like protecting you against yourself, you're like,
Yeah.
oh, I mean, this rent's okay. And then you can say, I mean, okay, that's my
Yeah.
worst case scenario. Can I make it better? Which I think is kind of
Yeah.
the fun part about it.
Yeah, absolutely. It's somebody asked me once at a meetup, they said, is this a bad time to be a flipper? And I just thought that was an interesting question because the sentiment is that's the market's tough. It takes longer
Yeah.
to sell. You've got to do more to the property to attract buyers. You get less foot traffic, yada, 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 right? All that would lead you to believe, yeah, it's a bad time to flip properties. But my answer to him was like, no, it's not a bad time to flip properties. It's a bad time to be a bad flipper. Like,
That's always.
yes. Right. Except for like 2021, you could be a bad flipper, but
Yeah,
you can't
right.
be a bad flipper now. Like it's a bad time to be bad at your job.
Well,
Like
don't you think that applies though to short-term rentals too? Is that
Yeah,
part of the reason why it's like,
100%.
if you're not like really into it as an operator now and doing the hospitality business, you're done with your
Yeah.
short-term rental.
You have to have a level of sophistication that
Yeah,
is
yeah.
very niche to short-term rentals to be successful now. It wasn't like that before. It was the Wild West. You just throw some IKEA / Salvation Army furniture in there,
Yeah.
put it up on Airbnb and you get bookings. It's not that anymore. You have to understand who your short-term rental customer is, because there's different short-term rental customers in different markets. You have to understand what amenities they need versus what amenities they want. You have to understand what amenities your competitors have, so that because you may not think you need an amenity, but all your competitors have it, you're not going to get the bookings. Like you have to be sophisticated now. You can't just it's not the Wild West anymore.
Yeah, and it's harder to operate now. It's not as easy as it was 20 years ago when I was doing them. It's like we fed a couple emails. No one expected that much.
Right.
Now they're coming in expecting a birthday party and an anniversary at the same time, with the hot tub, sauna, putt. Their expectations are like, you really can't mess up. You have to be on call all the time to be good at it. Is that part of the reason why it's just not an option for you on your properties?
Yeah, so we will do it. So again, you got to understand your market. So in my market, let me define my market a little bit. My market is called Northwest Arkansas, but there's about 4 cities. There's more than that, but 4 major cities that are all smack dab on top of each other, right? And each city has its own rules for short-term rentals. I only do short-term rentals in one of these cities. And the only reason I do short-term rentals in that one city is because they don't have enough hotels to support the people who need to come and visit the city. They've got corporate people who are coming in and working, because that's where Walmart's headquartered. They've got, this place is known for having the best mountain biking trails in the country. The mountain biking national championships are here every year. So you've got mountain bikers coming in. They literally just put in a bike lift, like a ski lift. Well, they'll lift you and your bikes to the top of the mountain and you can bike the mountain bike trails all the way down.
Cool.
So it's a big deal. And then, And so there's just tons of different avatars of people, and this area doesn't have the hotels. So what that tells me is in this area, I can do a more, let's call it, corporate short-term rental where it just needs to be furnished decently, at least, not cheap, but look, it needs to look nice. It doesn't need to have a lot of bells and whistles. It needs to have great internet because you're probably going to get people corporate. And you're going to get a lot of families that are moving or building a house and need a place to stay in between. And you have a lot of traveling nurses, right? And so I don't have to do the super duper crazy, pickleball courts and putt in order to get bookings in that particular town. And so if it's in that town, I'm more comfortable making it a short-term rental. If it's not, then I don't mess with it because you got to have more cool stuff in order for somebody to want to come and book your place. So you just have to understand your market. So that's the only place that I do. Hold on, the spider's trying to kill me.
Yeah. But I think that that one's nice because you can have it out there as a short term, but someone's going to knock out a midterm also. Like someone may book it 3 months, and then you just have steady income from different, and it's more of an efficiency stay, like you said. You don't need to put in a video game, two video game machines next to each other to win because people are going to be either out biking or working.
Yeah, absolutely. That's one. So we always make sure that we have a place at the property where people can store bikes safely because that's important to them. And just things that will cater to that particular audience. So again, we had more short-term rentals. We're down to 4 right now, and we were at 7. We were at 7. We sold 1, and then we converted another one back. No, we sold 2. That's it. Yeah, we sold 2. So, and then one of them we may convert back to a long-term rental. Right now, it's just kind of riding that borderline of like it's making enough. It's making
one booking, and you're like,
I want it to make more.
Yeah.
If it stays where it is, I don't know if I can justify the like labor of having to go in there, remove all the furniture, and it's just kind of on that cusp.
Yeah. I mean, I think that's kind of the fun of real estate, though. And I think by having short-term and midterm, now the public knows about them more. Mm-hmm. It just makes your properties have more options. But people could go wrong if you're not paying attention. As you said, you have to really know your area.
You got to evaluate like at least once a year. It should be be once a quarter, but at least once a year because like it's just the landscape for short-term rentals is changing.
Yeah, and something could change in the area that can make it either a better short-term rental or a worse. And in addition to regulations that could come at any time.
I fully expect within the next 10 years, that's probably a little long. Probably within the next 5 years that I'll have to convert all my short terms to long terms because they opened up 2 new hotels in the past year and a half, and there's plans to build more. So the more hotels that they build, the more regulation I think will come around short-term rentals. Right now, they can't regulate short-term rentals because they need tourists to have a place to stay. But once there's enough hotels, them big dollar people who spend all their money on them hotels are definitely going to pressure the local government to regulate the Airbnbs. And I don't want to be caught holding the bag. So we'll be converting before that happens.
Yeah. And the good thing about that, though, for people who are like, oh, I don't know, then maybe I just shouldn't do short-term rentals. It's like you've built up a bunch of years of equity on the property as well as income off of it. So now when you convert it, you're just converting it to a solid asset that already has performance and foundation behind it. Probably all can pay itself off by then.
Yeah, that's the goal is, it's basic business, right? You use the monetization strategy that the environment is offering you. In sports, they call it take what the defense gives you, right?
Yeah. Right. You want the mid-range jumper? Just take the mid-range jumper. Why do you got to hit a 3 all the time?
If they're overplaying you on the 3 and they're backing up so you don't crash the paint, then you take the mid-range, right? Right. So I'm taking the mid-range right now.
Yeah, I mean, come on, that's Jalen Brunson. I'm just on a Knicks fix right now because
you should be. You should be happy. You haven't had a lot to be happy about in the past 10 years. You should be thrilled.
Yeah, it's feeling good. Yeah, when you're so you've also stayed pretty tight with your geography over the years, right? I mean, you don't really do anything outside of those markets in Northwest Arkansas, right?
Yeah, my rule with that is I am only going to invest outside of my market if it is such a no-brainer deal that like it makes less sense to not do it.
Yeah,
Right.
yeah, yeah.
Like, all right. And so like I bought a mobile home park in Mississippi, in Laurel, Mississippi, because I got it for $100,000 owner financed at 3% interest. Right. Like as long as
Sign me
one
up.
person pays lot rent, then I'm good.
Yeah, yeah.
like it's hard to lose that deal. And I got to get an education on
Right.
what it's like to own a mobile home park. And to decide if that's something I want to do more of. I bought a commercial property and I bought it with three partners, two of which who only do commercial. So I got to get a front row seat to seeing how a seasoned commercial real estate investor invests in a commercial property, right?
Yeah.
That's I got paid to learn commercial real estate, and we bought it. We bought it with a crap ton of equity in it on day one, and so that was a cool thing. So my general rule of thumb, again, I'm just I don't call like I'm not risk averse. Like I don't mind risk.
Yeah.
But my strategy, I think how I evaluate deals is probably pretty conservative to most. Like I was telling my students yesterday, like I bought a deal. It's a flip. I bought it. It was on essentially 4 acres. And so we renovated the house, and I like buying houses on big lots. And so I went to the city and I said, because one of these acres is it's wooded. Like whoever buys the house is never going to go to that part of the acreage, right? It's on paper there, but no one will use it.
Yeah, I see that
right?
a lot.
And so I went to the city to see if they'd let me split an acre off, and they did. So I split the acre, and it did not change my ARV on the house because the house still has 3 acres.
Right.
3 or 4 acres is not going to change the ARV, and so in my market anyway. And so, I paid $120. We got 80 in the house. I'm selling it for $350. So I'll make like $100,000 just flipping the house.
Yeah.
But then I split off that acre. We listed that acre for $70,000, and it went under contract in like 2 days. Somebody buying that acre. So I made an additional $70,000 just for doing that. But what I told my students about that is the difference between like how I did this deal and how a lot of other people would do this deal is other people would do this deal where the numbers might not make the money on the flip. They might have to do the flip and sell the land to be profitable. Like there's a lot of real estate investors that do that. They'll buy a property, they'll have to do a split or build an ADU. And once they do all that, then their deal becomes profitable. This deal, if I never split that land, I was going to make money anyway. So like all these additional streams of income that come from properties to me are always going to be icing on the cake. If it's a rental property, it's got to work as a long-term rental. If I can do short-term, icing on the cake.
Yeah, bro, you're in the South. I was going to say gravy, and I'm like, oh, Henry's going to say gravy instead of icing on the,
No, I'm from California. I'm from California. Yeah, we don't do gravy in California.
For a while. Yeah. I wonder, I have a question about like, so if you have all these students in the Closing Table Mastermind, and a lot of coaches, I won't even say gurus, even good coaches encourage people to really tighten up their buy box. But I've found that if people tighten their buy box too much, they might miss these type of opportunities.
They lose money.
Because I'm just saying, like, someone will say like, well, I only want to do like single family houses, and they're looking in an area they love, and then a sweet commercial property or mixed use comes up and they're like, oh, I don't know how to do that. But that's the killer. Yeah. How do you help someone figure that out by saying like, don't tie it up too tight? You're never going to get a deal if it's too small.
So that's so like, I don't hear anybody talk about this. Like I tell my students this all the time. Like I don't teach anyone to be an exit strategy. In other words, like people teach you how to be an Airbnb host, right? They're teaching you how to be an exit strategy. People teach you how to be a flipper. They're teaching you an exit strategy. I don't want to teach you an exit strategy. I want to teach you how to be a fundamentally sound real estate investor. A fundamentally sound real estate investor is going to generate leads, and then they're going to treat every lead that they get with the respect it deserves because they either paid for that lead with their time or their money, which means you evaluate every lead and then you make the offer that makes sense to you and your financial situation. You, Jonathan Greene, you and I might get the exact same lead, and you might be willing to pay a little more than I will because your strategy is different, because your buy box is different, because you have a different superpower than I have, right? So you evaluate every deal on its merit, and then you make the best offer that you can for your strategy and your situation. And if that deal doesn't fit your skill set or your strategy, you don't say, well, I don't want this lead. You evaluate it to the point where somebody else, what would they be willing to pay for it?
Yeah.
And then that's the price you try to contract that deal for, because you can still monetize that lead. Even if all you do is pass that lead on to somebody else, if you've got it all negotiated down, you say, hey, I got this person down to XYZ. If you close on it, pay me a $2,000 finder's fee, you're still monetizing your lead. So my goal is to teach people how to get really good at finding deals, how to get really good at evaluating deals, how to get really good at making offers. And then you monetize the deal with the strategy that makes the most financial sense for the deal and your financial situation. Because you're leaving money on the table if you're only looking for properties to flip and you come up across a great rental property in a great rental property neighborhood. Right. That could be something you add to your portfolio. It could be something you call me or some other investor and say, hey, I got this lead. Get paid for your leads. And once I start getting my students doing that, and then they monetize a lead without having to do anything, they're like, oh, okay. Yeah, this is awesome.
That's what you were talking about.
Yeah, this is awesome. I just made 10 grand. I didn't do anything. Yeah.
Yeah.
Because the lead
that also
is the money.
Yeah, it goes to the strength of the mastermind, though, too, and knowing other real estate investors. I remember, your story of how you showed up at masterminds, we're not doing any deals, and everyone's like, oh, this guy's crushing it. And you're like, I haven't done a thing. I just show up. But once you're in the mastermind, you can do that. You can see one that, I think this is better for short-term rental. Like, let me talk to Bob, but they have 7 short-term rentals. Now you can partner around and you already have a built-in trust factor, which I think is really the key to unlocking analysis paralysis, just knowing a few real estate investors.
That's it, man. People always say, man, I want to find somebody to help me, but I don't know what value I can add to them. Every investor wants a deal. Yeah. And you can get deals for free. It'll take work, but you can get deals for free. Right. So if you can go generate leads for people, hell, go drive for dollars and build a list and go give that to an investor. Like that's immediate value that you're giving. All you did was drive around and identify distressed homes. Like anybody can do this.
And I personally think that what you just said, like old school, is a better ad for someone, because anyone can go online. They can go online and just buy a list, but that's not vetting the list or driving by the house and seeing like, actually, this one does have busted out windows, so it's ripe. If you really go back to those old school principles that I grew up, literally my dad pulling over the car, I'm like, we're going to a basketball game. He's like, I know, but there's a FSBO sign. Like, we got to pull over.
I gotta go. That was it.
I'm like, we're going to be late. He's like, I don't know. I'm like, it's an ice cream store. He's like, I don't care. I want to look. That's the kind of mindset that I think these new investors need to have, is like, technology is great. AI is helping us develop and do due diligence, but it's never going to beat us driving around and just saying like, oh my God, like that looks good.
See, this is why we're friends. We have a lot of the same mindsets around things, and we didn't talk about this beforehand.
Yeah.
But like, I just did a talk to some seasoned investors. So these are people who've done 10 plus deals, right? I said, us investors, because I'm in that same boat, right? People who've been investing since like 2016 to now, whether you started before 2016 or whether you started in that time frame. If you were in the business from about 2016 and you're still in it now, chances are you're spoiled, right? And that's where the seasoned investor is struggling right now. It's not that they don't know how to do the work. It's that we got so spoiled when interest rates were low. 2016, 17 deals were easy to find, man. You just open your inbox. It was something to evaluate and buy always. You were just having to figure out which ones do I not buy, right? Like it was so much easier to find deals. You could cash flow on day one, right? And so we built all these systems and things just around either networking as an option for finding deals. You didn't have to work too hard. And now as the market slowly shifted, the seasoned investor is struggling. And it's not that they don't know how to do the work. It's that they're spoiled and they don't want to do that work that they felt like they had to do when they got started. But if you want to get ahead right now, you kind of have to go back to some of the basics and do some of that dirty work that you didn't have to do before, because good leads aren't just going to funnel their way to your inbox as frequently anymore. Yes, there are some people who have a great reputation and have a great network that's feeding them leads, but most people who are just like, doing onesie twosie deals, like, you got to go work for it again. You got to go pound the dirt again. You got to go, figure out what list you want to send mail to and niche down and start doing the dirty work to get leads consistently. But what I'm finding is if you are doing that work, there's some great spreads right now. I'm getting some of the best spreads I've seen on deals in years right now.
That's good for people to hear, but I think it comes from never stopping. Like I said in the beginning, you just keep doing your job because you're running a business. You're not working a job. Your job is to run your business, and your business is being a real estate investor. And that means, hey, there's a mobile home park that's available. I love what you said, because you said, look, I can get that at a good price. It's almost a no lose, and I can learn about mobile home parks. I've started to really enjoy being an LP in multifamily because I don't want to own gigantic multifamily myself. It sounds annoying, but I can read the prospectus and see what happens every month and get an idea. Like, I could do it now. If I wanted to be a GP, I could do it because I'm in 4 multifamily syndications and I like to see how they do it. I'm probably too lazy to do it, but I like being able to ride the way. And like you said, if you weren't open, or you said like, well, I can't do mobile home, I'm just a flipper, you're going to miss out on an opportunity to learn, grow, and maybe bring some people along with you.
Yeah, absolutely, man. I think the moral of the story is your deal is the money. Your deal is your protection for your risk. Your deal is your best hedge. Like, so if you're struggling to figure out what strategy you should do, or, how to navigate the risk in the marketplace right now, the best thing you should be studying is what good deals are in the markets you're looking to invest in, and then studying ways to go and acquire those good deals. Because once you do that, once you learn that skill set, you can make money in any real estate market.
Yeah, I agree. And I think one thing that people forget about, especially now as everything's more technologically advanced, and we always talk about it, the relationships are what create better deals. It's not necessarily the market. If you're really good and you've built relationships over 10 years, you're going to be getting deals no matter what the interest rates are, whether it's a buyer's or seller's market, because people already trust you. You've built up the time to say, like, you're a straight shooter in off-market acquisition. And you'll always win against, the new people who are like, hey, I want to wholesale in Northwest Arkansas, but I'm out in California. I don't even know any of the streets. I don't know who lives there. I think they're easy to buy against.
Oh, yeah, absolutely they are. Absolutely they are. Because people know they can get a sense of how confident someone is in what they're doing. They can get a sense of, sellers are more sophisticated now too, thanks to things like your podcast and the Bigger Pockets podcast, and we're making it more accessible for the normal person to invest in real estate. That's also getting sellers more exposure to other real estate investors. And so sellers are definitely more educated now than they were when I got started in like 2017. And that isn't a bad thing. Yeah. I mean, they should be educated. It's their house. I want them to do what's best for them. Like, if they can go make money somewhere else, more money, I want them to go do it. But it requires you to, have a level of sophistication. So when these newbies from out of state start calling and talking to people pick up on it pretty quick on how, and people get fearful. What people want is to know that their deal's going to close. And if they don't feel confident in that based on your tone or your level of confidence or how you're telling them how the process works, right? People pick up on it, and they may not trust you totally.
But sometimes my favorite sellers are the ones who they bought the high offer the first time, someone coming out of Tennessee who doesn't know the area, and then they got roasted. They were like, oh, they came down 50,000 on the price. I'm like, well, I told you that. When you come in behind that, you're locked in because they already trusted you. They knew that you were the better deal, but someone made them a stupid offer of 50,000 more. I love being the backup, don't you? It's just great.
Yeah.
Hey, it's Jonathan. I hope you're enjoying this episode with Henry Washington. And if you want to get in on something special, you're not going to hear about this till the end. So I'm giving you the middle preview. Henry has an event in Dallas, June 26th and 27th, Dallas, Texas. Road to the Closing Table, an unconference 2026. Go to roadtotheclosingtable.com and you can see Henry there. Do it now. But now, let's listen to the rest of the show.
I told my buddy this. He had a property that was just a very hard property to sell. And I told him, I was like, look, bud, he's a really good friend. Matter of fact, he's the person I bought my very first real estate deal from.
Yeah. So, we talked about it on our first episode on 109. Yeah.
So he called me. He's got this very unique property on a bunch of land. And I was like, dude, if I'm going to be honest with you, I can make you an offer, but it's going to be so ridiculously low because of the risk that's involved with that type of property. If I'm going to do a deal like that, I'm going to have to get paid for it. And so I would expect myself or any other investor who lives in this area to pay you somewhere around X and Y. And he was like, oh yeah, there's no way I'd do that. I was like, cool. Yeah. He was like, I got this investor who said he's going to give me, it was like 4 times that. And I was like, yeah. Here's what's going to happen.
They don't love forecasting. I love it.
They don't live here. They're going to lock you up at that price. Then they're going to call me and see if I want to buy it. I'm going to tell them no. Right. And then every other investor is going to tell them no. And then they're going to come back to you after your contract date is almost up and they're going to try to renegotiate with you. And he was like, And then he called me and said, well, then I got the call from the investor. I saw it on Investor Lift and I was like, yep, here we go. Yeah, never got.
Don't even get me started on investor lifts. That thing drives me insane. It's like the conglomeration of bad deals and daisy chaining all in one spot is just unbelievable.
Yeah, there's some funky stuff out there for sure.
Yeah. Well, I mean, when you're the backup, you already know what's coming, but you can only be the backup if you're doing enough inventory and volume and relationship building to be someone that they can rely on. I love telling someone, like you said, I think like being a good person is so important to say, like, you know what? I don't know that other person. That's not an insane deal. That other offer is better than what I'm going to offer you. And that's what I always say when people say, well, I need market value. And I'm like, well, I'm an agent. I can list it if you want market value, but like I'm an investor. I'm trying to make money. I'm not buying into a deal to help you. I mean, you seem cool, but I don't know you. I need to make money. So this is my investor offer. If you can do better, do it. But then you give them advice, like check the terms, make sure they're solid, ask them for a proof of funds. Like, do they really have money? I mean, 80 to 85% of the people who show up don't really have money. They're bridging together either fake hard money or, oh, wow, I'll get it to you later.
Yeah. Yeah. That is 100% of what happens. And I do the same thing. Like, again, I was saying this last night to my students. Like when I'm on an appointment, my goal isn't to close a deal. My goal is to figure out how I can help you because I wouldn't be in this appointment if you didn't need help. You didn't wake up this morning and decide you want to sell your property to an investor at a discount, right? You're in a situation where you feel like you need to. So my job is to go figure out how I can help you. Maybe I can help you by buying your house. Maybe I can help you by doing something else. But when I approach a seller appointment like that, it takes the pressure off because as investors, like we naturally, like we get excited when we get a lead and we feel this pressure to go in there and like make sure we say the right thing and not to piss them off, but I need to make the best offer that I can, but I want to do it in a way that's like there's all this pressure to do things the right way and to walk out with a deal closed. But when you just remove that and say, my only goal here is to figure out how I can help you. It makes the conversation easier and smoother. It makes it more real. It makes it more honest. When you kind of root yourself in that and you go into the conversation, not thinking I got a deal to close, but I got somebody to figure out how to help. And then it makes things a lot easier because you've got to make uncomfortable offers sometimes. You've got to tell people some uncomfortable truths sometimes. You have to do it in the right way. But that's part of our job. And I also feel like my job is to make sure that that seller is educated enough to understand what's happening here, right? And I think that's where a lot of investors can seem predatory, is because they come in, they understand all this process and what's happening, and then they make an offer based on that. But the seller doesn't really understand what's happening.
Yeah.
And then they can get in themselves in situations where they feel like they've been taken advantage of because they didn't realize they had other options. So I'm doing like you're doing, like I'm telling people, I am an investor. I am here because I need to make money. And then I explain that, like, I don't just make an offer, I explain my offer, right? And I do a brutally honest offer, and I get them to participate, and that really helps when I have to give them, like, if their house is ARV $350,000, and I know I can only pay 160, 170, right? Like, I can't just throw that number out there and expect everybody to be like, oh yeah, that's cool, right? So the way I do it is I get them involved. I say, all right, look, here's what I'm thinking, right? If you were going to sell this house and it was in tippy top shape, what do you think it would sell for? And they'll tell you, oh, well, the neighbor just sold for X, or the guy down the street sold for Y.
Yeah.
Okay. Right. And I'm looking for them to say
have holes in your roof, so let's start here.
Right. I just want them to say something in the neighborhood of the actual ARV. I already know what it's going to sell for, but I need to hear them say it so I can understand if we're going to have a healthy conversation. Because if ARV is 325 and they say, oh yeah, 450, easy, then I don't need to go any further. We're not going to have a healthy conversation. You're not on planet Earth about how much your house is worth. So my job is to figure out how to help them. So in that situation, I'm going to help them by offering them an agent recommendation. And I'm going to say exactly what you said. Like, if you want retail value and you think you can get retail value, I want you to get that. I can't give it to you, but here's somebody who can. And you can talk to this person and they can help you do that. If you already have an agent, that's cool. I get that you don't want to deal with people in and out of your house. And I get that it's invasive, and I get that it's annoying, and I get that agents are annoying sometimes. And I understand all of that. But if what you're telling me is that you need retail value, that's what's most important to you, this is literally the only path to get there. And I'm willing to help you get there. I don't even make any money if you get there, but that's the only way to get there. Now, if that doesn't sound like what you want to do, I can make you an offer, but my offer is going to be rooted in making money. And so it won't be as much money, but I can give you more speed and convenience. And when I say that, they either go, well, yeah, I need to get retail, or they go, well, tell me what you can do. So then I can back into the rest of the offer, right? And then I can tell them, all right, well, I got to buy, I got to pay closing costs. I got to pay 6% to an agent. I'm going to pay your closing costs when I buy it. I'm going to pay your closing costs, my closing costs when I buy it. And then I'm probably going to pay both sides again when I sell it, because that's the market that we're in. Yeah. And I'm putting a number to all of these things. So basically I take the ARV and I subtract all of these numbers right there in front of them on a piece of paper. Yeah. And I say, okay, I got to pay the agent 6%. That's 30 grand. I got to pay closing costs. That's 25 grand. I got to pay, I have to pay holding costs because I pay cash, but I borrow that cash from an investor. He wants his 12% every month, right? Yeah. And I do that math, and then I get down and I say, also, I can't do this for free, right? And they're like, yeah, you got to make money. And I say, okay, well, I got to make profit. So I subtract my profit right there in front of them. Yeah. And I say, all right, this is the number. And they see that that offer is purely based on math. It is not based on how I feel about you or your house, right? And then they see that same 170 that somebody else offered and got mad about, and they're not mad when I said it. Yeah. They get it. They may not want it, but they get it.
They may want it later, though, but I think
your worst case, a lot.
Yeah, your worst case scenario is, like you said, you've educated someone, so the next time somebody else comes in the door, they can kind of have a better BS meter. Because I do think with technology, anyone who's owned a home more than 10 years is getting calls all the time. So you're getting the cards, and then you decide you want to take somebody up. You get 6 people in, and you realize, like, none of them really know anything. Right. Half the time it's just kids. They're like, oh, they signed up for like Paces sub 2, and they're talking about sub 2, and the person's like, huh? Like, I lived here 30 years. I don't know what that is.
They were also there the week before trying to sell them solar. So it's the same guy.
Right. They're backing up on the sprinkler system the next week. I mean, I think like the karma of like doing stuff as a real estate investor goes just so under the radar. I was just reading an article. It was one of these things about, they're trying to ban flippers from buying in one area. And I said, who do you think is flipping? Just idea. Like, who do you think is landlording? Like,
if we flip a home in an area and we sell it and we make some money, and now the block values of that area are up, so that helps everybody. Like, who do you think is like, what are we doing? They were saying like, oh, well, that should be for first-time home buyers. I'm like, that's the worst thing for first-time home buyers. They're going to think that they can do a renovation that's really like too much, a structural renovation, mold house, cappy house. They're not going to get that out. It's not going to be safe for them. It's just a weird, like, overall national view that people have of landlords and flippers, when most of us are just regular people trying to help people.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And I think that's the part that I want to, I want to make sure that I help people learn how to do this business in a way that's beneficial to the cities and municipalities that we're doing it in, right? It's a mutually beneficial arrangement. Because you're right. We are taking, and a lot of the times, like, we're taking dead inventory, inventory that either isn't lived in or shouldn't be lived in, and we're turning it into safe, comfortable places to live. Yes, we're making a profit for doing it, but we can't do it unless we do.
Yeah, you're welcome. Like, what? We're the one who's going in with the masks on, going through all of the, mold that's in there to get it fixed, and hiring and spending to build it up, when it's the eyesore of the block, and then you have your good neighbor who's like, oh, thanks so much, I can't wait to get rid of this eyesore, versus the NIMBY who's like, oh, you guys are going to push everyone out of the neighborhood. It's like everything goes up at some point in America. It's like you just have to find the way. You don't want to have 5 burnt out homes on your block. That's not good for anybody.
Right. And I think and I think what you're touching on there is important too, because what I do and what I try to do and try to teach people to do, because I think there's a difference between gentrification and revitalization. And
Great point.
What happens in a lot of places, and you got to be paying attention to what's happening, because you can absolutely buy a junker in a up and coming neighborhood and then renovate that property and then list that property at a price point that meets the future buyer of that market, like when it's up and coming, and you can make a crap ton of money. But in my opinion, that's gentrifying the neighborhood. And what we always try to do is revitalize. So I underwrite my deals at a price point where I can offer that property back to the same community, just in better shape, so that I'm not forcing anybody out of their community, but I'm offering you better inventory at a price point that keeps the people in that neighborhood. Yeah. And the problem with strategies like that is you're leaving some money on the table, right? And you got to be okay doing that, because you're right, and not everybody's going to do that. I get it. But it's definitely something to be cognizant of and to think about. Like, you should have kind of like a mission and vision for your business, just like any other business. Yeah. And part of our mission and vision is revitalization, not gentrification. And so that means I'm going to leave some money on the table. Yeah. But I think that's the part about real estate investing that doesn't get talked about a lot, because there's pain points to the investor. Like, here's a situation I was in recently. I have an 8-unit property. It's literally, you can throw a rock across the street and hit the University of Arkansas. It's in a phenomenal location. It appraised for 1.3. My agent thinks it's a low appraisal. He thinks he could sell it for 1.5 to 1.7 if I were to list it and sell it. My debt on it is $720,000. So I was looking to refinance that property, pull about $100,000 out. And we're doing some portfolio optimization. So selling some stuff, putting some money into some other stuff, optimizing cash flow. So I wanted to pull $100,000 out so that I could do some optimization in my portfolio. I talked to maybe 7 or 8 lenders. No one would give me a refinance to pull cash out on this deal. Why? Because my rents wouldn't hit 1.2 DSCR on the new loan. Why wouldn't they hit 1.2 DSCR? Because I'm not forcing rents up. The banks want you to get as much rent as possible because they feel more comfortable if your cash flow supports the debt that you have on the property. And they typically want you to be at like a 65 or 75%. They want you to be at a 1.25 DSCR coverage ratio. It makes them feel comfortable. And these are the same local community banks that will tell you we need more affordable rents in our community. Yeah. We do. But how come when I try to provide that, I get punished for it? So I couldn't pull cash out of this property. That's a great asset in one of the best neighborhoods, in one of the best locations. It's been renovated and and I told them my strategy. I said, yes, I should and could get more rent out of each one of these units. I'm purposefully not doing it. I'm not pushing rents. We don't need another landlord asking for the tippy top of rents. We need people who can afford to live in places. And so I'm not aggressively pushing rents. And they said, that's really great. I'm glad you're doing that. We can't give you a loan.
Pass.
Right.
I wanted to go back on something you said, because I think the gentrification thing is really interesting to me, because I think in the scenario that you laid out, say a flipper comes in, nothing's happened in the neighborhood, and they just try to overdo. They try to go 800 on a 500 block, but there's no indication that it's going there. To me, that's forced gentrification.
Yeah.
And then there's a time when a Starbucks is in and a Trader Joe's is in, and this is already happening. Like the cycle of community is already happening. So there potentially will be some displacement, but I still see it differently if you hop into a market or you're trying to force it. I also don't think it's a great financial idea to try to force gentrification to be the first one to do it, because you're likely not going to succeed. The area is not there yet. But I used to, when I really was kind of just quasi investing as a young adult, my best thing was buying homes to live in great areas, and they would appreciate. I'd double my money in a couple of years because I like the fringe area. Yeah. It was kind of the fun of finding out what is the next area, and the more that you drive and know your areas, the better this can be. Which goes back to something we were talking about before. There's tons of technology, but if people would just get out there and like open their eyes and not look at Deal Machine on their phone. Deal Machine's good product, but like, don't look at the screen, look at the houses. If you go out today anywhere and you just drive for an hour, you'll see 10 deals in any neighborhood. I absolutely guarantee it. You just have to learn what to look for, and it's fun.
Driving for dollars is fun.
It's the best.
It is fun. I tell my students, I'm like, look, if you have the gift of gab enough and the balls enough to knock doors right now, you can clean up.
I agree.
No one's knocking doors anymore.
Yeah, they're scared.
People are craving human communication again.
Yeah, totally.
Like this is the prime time to get out there, beat the streets, knock some doors, put some door hangers on, because everybody's getting the mail, everybody's getting AI phone calls, everybody's getting AI emails. All of it sounds the same, like all the same person's writing it all, like people, but like real human connection and communication. Like if you get out there and knock some doors right now and you're not afraid of getting the door slammed in your face a time or two, then you can probably get yourself some pretty good deals.
I 100,000,000% agree. And I think it's also about like how you knock doors. Like when I knock doors, I grew up doing it with my dad. So it was kind of like, it was easier. I was a kid. No one's going to be like, get out of here. And back then, everyone was knocking on your door. Now nobody does. I don't answer my door, but I'm not looking to sell my house. If you knock someone who's been there 30 years, they're going to answer. They probably just want to have a conversation. Like you said, everybody's lonely now.
Get you a list of boomers in a neighborhood and just go knock on the boomers' doors. Don't knock on anybody. Just knock. Boomers, they waiting for somebody to talk to.
Yeah, exactly. They're like, even their kids are trying to like get them to go on Facebook, and they're like, I don't want to go on Facebook. Why don't you come visit me? You live 7 minutes away. I mean, seriously. And part of that is just, like you said, having the conversation, educating them, and not thinking every time you go into a scenario, as you were saying before, that you're there to close a deal. Yeah. If you think that you're there to just give someone education, have a conversation, build a relationship, something good's going to happen from it. And if not, well, big deal. It's still good karma.
Man,
like, does
just
anyone
knock
want
on the door
karma?
and just be like, I just want to talk to somebody.
Yeah.
You have a good, I just saw this Instagram this person, all they do is they say, let's call a boomer and see how long we can get him to stay on the phone and just chop it up with us. So this girl just calls boomers in like New Jersey and just yaps, just like, hey, how's your day going?
That's my market. These people want to sell too. Like, just let's co-opt that list.
Just yaps. But like, oh, what do you got going on tonight? And they'll be, oh yeah, I'm going to go to this and going to this church. Oh yeah, what'd you have for supper? Did you have, oh yeah, I made this and I made that. Oh, that sounds delicious.
Yeah.
Well, I just was calling to chat with you.
I'll take that and go back to something you said before when you were saying that, what can someone who believes they have nothing to add to somebody else, like what value do I have? Sometimes it's just the ears. Everyone likes to talk about themselves. They want to talk. If an investor just wants to tell you about their portfolio, you may just need to listen for 10 minutes and not look at your phone to make a deal.
That's how I built my reputation, is going to meetups and just talking to seasoned investors. I just learned they'll tell you everything. Yeah. A seasoned investor loves to talk about their deals. They tell you what they bought, who they bought it from, what they said, how they got in touch with them, what the property looked like, what they're going to do with it. They'll just tell you everything.
Yeah, they're going to just put the playbook on the table for you. Yeah. Again, that's just being a person. Everyone, they would say like sometimes like, what's your best tip for investors? I was like, I don't know, be a human being,
Right.
Like I like technology, but it's not, you use technology as something to enhance what you do personally. And if you do that, I think you're going to be good even with AI. If you try to overuse it, like you said, using AI callers and bot texting, all these texts that I get, it's annoying. And then you just don't want to be that person who's annoying. So when you show up and you're local, and you're like, oh yeah, hey, I sold Bob and Sally's house over there. How can I help you? I think you're already winning.
That's it, man.
Yeah. Well, so for new investors now, say they're getting into this market, I love to ask this question at the end of the podcast. Like, what's your best advice for someone in 2026? Interest rates are, quote high, but we've already gone through why it doesn't really matter to us, but they want to get started. And we're already coaching them from this podcast to say, like, be open to more opportunities. Don't make too small of a buy box. Where should they start now?
A couple of things. Again, the most important skill you can have is understanding what constitutes a good deal in the markets you're looking to invest in. Because it's going to be different everywhere, right? Like some markets you need to buy it, 60 cents on the dollar. And in some markets you need to buy it like 30 cents on the dollar, right? Like every market's a little different. You need to figure out, all right, in my market, in general, if I buy at 60 cents on the dollar, I'm pretty safe in terms of flipping or renting. Those are the main two exit strategies. Whether you're going to do them or somebody else is going to do them, you need to understand. All right. So, okay, if I got to buy at 60 cents on the dollar, like once you figure that part out, then you need to pick a way that you're going to generate leads for deals, right? And that's just a function of you understanding how much time you have to spend on finding deals each month or how much money you have to spend on finding deals each month. It's going to cost you one of those two things. We all have more of one of those than the other, right? So you need to do that math. And then you just need to pick one strategy that you can afford to fund appropriately for long enough for that strategy to work. And then do it until it works. I think that's where people fail with marketing of any kind for deals, is they don't spend enough of the capital that it takes for long enough for the strategy to work. People say direct mail doesn't work. Well, yeah, they probably tried to send 250 postcards for 1 month. No, it didn't work, right? You've got to spend enough time or money on that strategy. Is it the purge happening where you are?
Yeah, it's just I live near a volunteer fire department. It always goes off and someone's like, are you okay? I'm like, I'm fine.
Yeah, I was waiting for, people with masks to bust in your door.
I mean, who knows these days?
That's fair enough, actually. Yeah. So that's the general advice. Like, you've got to do enough research. And if you don't know, once you have your budget of time or money, ask AI. There's so much data on different marketing strategies. Just say, hey, I've got $2,000 a month to spend and I've got 10 hours a week to spend. Which off-market deal finding strategies do I have enough money to fund appropriately or time to fund appropriately until I could get a deal, right? And it'll give you options. But what I think people really need to do is, I'm sorry, let me say it a little differently. What I think a good option for people is that not enough people do is just making offers on MLS leads. Because I think, A, it's free. right?
Yeah.
And be there out there. There's tons of deals on the MLS. The problem is people aren't comfortable making the offer they need to make on the leads. So real quick and dirty, know your buy box, right? What properties do you want to buy? What neighborhoods are they in? Zip codes. Like, you got to narrow it down to your buy box. Get your agent to get an email drip set up that sends you all the properties in your buy box. And what me and my agent did when I was doing this heavily was I was just saying, take whatever their list price is, subtract 40%, and then do a verbal offer via text message. And so he had this canned text message he would send that painted me as the bad guy investor who wanted to make this low offer because he wanted to protect his reputation, right? He didn't want to be the agent making lowball offers. And so he said, hey, Mr.
I
Mrs.
know
Agent,
it's low.
I got an investor client. It's all numbers for him. He wants to make these offers, throws me under the bus. Totally fine, right? He was like, but we'd be somewhere in this ballpark. What do you think about it? And then we would just wait for a reply. Most people would say, no, thank you. But the ones who did, then we could evaluate the home. We could make a real offer. It took very little time on my agent's side. He didn't have to write up a bunch of offers. He had to do some text communication, but it allowed me to make a ton of offers on properties at one time to find that needle in the haystack seller who was willing to take a lower offer because of the situation that they were in. And that's something anybody can do.
Yeah, I mean, the days on market are your best judge of who's going to feel it more or not. You look at 60, then you look at 100 days, then you're looking at 180, and it depends on the market, but that's how they can feel it out. One thing I wanted to say on the first point that you made is I think you were right in saying, like, I think someone, say someone has $10,000, they might think like, oh, well, I'll just send out 10,000 of mailers. That's a terrible idea. Why don't you send $1,000 worth of mailer to a smaller thing for 10 months straight? You will get deals. It's just the consistency. Direct mail definitely works, but you just can't assume that everyone sees the first one. You just have to be consistent about it.
Yeah. I mean, all marketing is a function of you trying to get your piece of marketing in a seller's hand at the moment they're thinking about selling. And with things like direct mail and cold calls, what we're doing a lot of times is we're manufacturing that moment. My first 2 or 3 pieces of mail, the first 2 they may not even look at, the third they look at and think somebody wants to buy their house, and then they don't think something of it. The fourth one they look at and they think, man, this guy really wants to buy my house. Now they start thinking about how much money they could get for it and what they could do with that money.
Florida seems nice.
Yeah. So now I've manufactured that moment in their head by sending 4 months of mail. 5th month they get that mail and they call me, right? So you just have to, it's the consistency. And sometimes we're manufacturing the moment where somebody needs to sell, and you want to have your piece of marketing in that seller's hand when that moment hits. Where people fail is they stop too soon. They manufactured the moment. Because now that seller wants an offer, but you stopped. but then I sent my mail. I hit my first round. So they called me. Now I got your deal.
Yeah. There was a study that they did in the past that it took 8 months. And then after 8 months of mailers, the people would respond and say, oh yeah, I know Bob's. It was a real estate agent thing. It's like, oh yeah, I know Bob's, real estate company. Company didn't even exist.
Doesn't exist. Yeah.
Because I still think it's probably around 8 months, just because there's a lot of trash in your mail and you're up against text and everything else. One more thing before we hop off, for those seasoned investors, like you said, that I think you're right. They're struggling. They had it easy for a long time and now they're caught in the middle. What do you think they need to do ahead of what we said before to just get themselves recalibrated a little? Is it go back to basics and kind of see where they started and understand their why now?
Yeah. I mean, I think that's part of it. I think it's going to be different for every seasoned investor because we've all got a different superpower. But I would say in general, you should look at think through some of the things that you probably built a system or a process to handle, or that maybe you stopped doing because it was more work than you wanted to do. And maybe you pursued a different route, maybe a different marketing channel, maybe a different, you used a different tool so that you wouldn't have to do that same, think through some of those processes that were working for you, but that you didn't enjoy as much. And because as seasoned investors, we only want to do what we like doing. And that's how good businesses run. But right now, a lot of the money is made through doing things that other people aren't willing to do. Right. That's why people are using AI right now. They're not using AI just because it's cool. They're like, I want to build something that can do this thing I hate doing.
Yeah.
So I can still reap the benefits of doing that thing without doing that thing.
Yeah.
So what are the things that were working that you didn't like doing? Revisit those things and see if it's time for you to put some of those old skills back to use, right? Like you and I talked about building that driving for dollars list and reaching out to that driving for dollars list. Like I stopped driving for dollars. It's just work. It's work. It takes time. Right? Like I'd rather just, because I'm busy, pull a list on my computer and then, or not even me do it. I'll just email my direct mail company and say, hey, just find me a list and mail it, right? Like if that's what you're doing now, revisit you building your own lists again. If revisit you driving for dollars and building a list again, right? Some of the old tactics still work, and we might need to get back down to some of those basics in order to increase our profitability and our deal flow in the short term. But yeah, like that's a great example of what I'm doing. Like my mail house, they pull my lists. I give them parameters on what mail to send. Like I hate the mail that makes an offer. You know, I won't let them send I hate the mail where it sends a fake check. I hate that
or
stuff.
like sixth notice. You know, they think they're getting their power shut off.
So I give them some guardrails, but I let them pick. So if it were me, right, and I'm taking my own advice, I would probably look at, all right, what does it look like for me to build my own lists in my own markets again? What lists do I think would work based on what I know now?
Yeah.
What does it look like for me to go out? Do I need to go drive neighborhoods again? I'd revisit my old deal machine driving for dollars list. I'd probably update it and see if a lot of those properties are still available and or pay somebody to go drive again. That's what I used to do. I wasn't driving. I would pay people to go drive for me.
Yeah. You can do that on Deal Machine, by the way, also. But I mean, I think that's a great, number one, if you just want to drive for dollars with your eyes without even building a list, it's free. You can identify leads for free. But then if you do have the money to build a bigger list and then you take it and you drive that list or hire someone to drive that list, now you're building a micro list by putting eyes to the list. These are just better strategies and they don't really cost a lot. I mean, I mean, hopefully we're giving people actionable advice that they can take. Because I feel like they can walk away from this with a lot. So, man, it's great to see you again. Always good to talk to you and had a great time as usual.
Thank you, man. I enjoyed talking with you. Thanks for having me again, buddy.
Yeah. And the best place for people to find you is henrywashington.com and see you at theclosingtable.com.
I would say the best place to find me now is, yes, you can Instagram. I'm at the Henry Washington on Instagram. Yes, you can go to see you at theclosingtable.com. I'm also having a really cool real estate event in June 26th and 27th. You can go to www.roadtotheclosingtable.com to find out about that.
Yeah. Is that it's near you in Arkansas?
It's in Dallas.
Oh, sweet.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, also, I mean, you and Dave went on some road shows. I was like, where's the third guy? I'm in there, Three Musketeers. But nobody called me for this. Let's go. Let's get this Northeast. I'm ready to go.
All right. Let's do it.
Awesome. So they can find that at Road to the Closing Table?
Roadtotheclosingtable.com. That's correct.
Yeah. Awesome, man. Appreciate it. Good to see you again.
You as well. Thank you, buddy.
All right. That was Henry Washington. Again, you can find him at seeyouattheclosingtable.com or look up that event in late June in Dallas at roadtotheclosingtable.com. I'm Jonathan Greene. We'll see you next episode. Thanks for sticking around to the end so you can get a preview of who's coming up on episode 353 of Zen and the Art of Real Estate Investing. It's John McNellis. He's the author of Making It in Real Estate, Thriving as a Developer, and over 40 years he's developed shopping centers, mixed-use projects, and office buildings across Northern California. Can't wait for you to hear this show. Next time, see you there.